Everybody hat, bow your heads, please. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all together today. May us help us make the right decisions with your guidance. Pray for this COVID-19 to hopefully go away soon, and anybody affected by it to be helped out, and anybody that's passed away from it, bless their souls. In God's name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would say Mr. Secretary announced a quorum, but since he's on the phone, we do have a quorum. We need to approve the minutes and transcripts of the February 18th regular Board of Directors meeting, January 28th special personnel meeting, and redactions, the February 28th or February 18th, 2020 executive session and redactions, August 20th, 2019, September 17th, 2019, October 15th, 2019, and January 6th, 2020 MOA special meeting minutes. And those last ones, we're doing those because we held off on approving those minutes until we had a final agreement signed by the county and, at this point, Gulf Breeze.
Motion to approve all minutes as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve all minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of memberships. We need to approve the February new memberships of 299, canceled memberships of 260, and transfers of 0, as well as the March new memberships of 336, canceled 281, and no transfers that much.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Finance. Review the financial statements for January, February, and March 2020. Has everybody had a chance to review the financial statements? Are there any questions on them?
The only question I had was the difference in December's numbers for Hidden Creek being $20,000 different than what the audit said for the end of the year.
Okay, that we'll get to that in
The golf course.
golf course meeting. We're working on the water system right now,
Okay.
but we will get to that. Trust me.
I make a motion to approve as presented, Mr. President.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the January, February, and March 2020 financial statements for Holley-Navarre Water System and Municipal Engineering Services. Is there any discussion? None noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 2019 Consolidated Financial Audit Presentation. Kirsten, is there, you on the line? Kristen?
Yes, I'm here, sorry.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
we can hear you.
Okay. So, good evening. Interesting, I've never done a remote audit presentation like this. This is the first time, and it's interesting to look at you. I almost have the same viewpoint as if I was there. It's very interesting. Okay, so I am here to present the 2019 audit report. We did complete the audit back in really the beginning of March, and we were on the agenda for the March meeting that was canceled. So we rolled to this meeting, but the audit has been completed for quite a bit. The audit process did go very smoothly this year overall. We did issue a clean opinion on the financial statements, unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance we can provide. We also do not have a management letter or any findings or such items that we would have to report to you, the board, so it was a very good report overall from the audit. Now, looking at the financials, if you'll look at page 3, which is the start of your consolidated balance sheet, overall the system ended the year with approximately 70 million in assets. Most of that is within your utility plant and service assets and then your golf course equipment. You also had end of the year with approximately 1.6 million in cash overall. Turning to page 4 on the balance sheet, which is your liabilities. Overall, your biggest change in your liabilities is within your pension obligation, which did increase approximately 3.2 million. And we're going to talk about that in a second. A lot of those details are described in note 6. And that had a significant impact as well when you turn to your income statement on page 5. Overall, the system ended the year for 2019 with income from operations of approximately $1.3 million. You had increases overall in your wastewater and system revenues and some within the course as well, within the club's revenues as well. Another significant change this year, if you'll go, well, not necessarily significant, but starting on page 9 of the notes for the financials. One of the hot topics in the accounting industry this year has been revenue recognition. Actually, we've been talking about it for several years, but that accounting standard was adopted this year by all entities, and that was adopted by the system. It did not have any impact on the way that you recognize revenue, but we do have to disclose that it was a new accounting standard and was adopted January 1st, 2019. So I will point that out. But as I said, that has no impact on the timing and the way that you recognize your revenue. So as I was saying, one of the biggest impacts on your financials this year is your pension plan, and that starts on page 15, which is note 6. And as I said, your overall pension obligation increased by about $3.2 million, and that does include, and that's net of the overall increase in your fair value of your plan assets of almost $2 million as well. So you did have growth in your plan assets, but you had a significant change in your pension plan assumptions utilized. You decreased your discount rate from 4.25% to 3.25%. That 1 point percentage decrease was a significant change. Generally, you'll try to do that decrease in lower increments, and that'll have less of an impact. But you made that change. That alone had a $2.3 million increase in impact on your benefit obligation. You also had to adopt other impacts by changing the discount rate, by looking at your mortality table. All of the assumptions are provided to us via your actuary. So we do review the actuary's report and the assumptions utilized and his disclosure reports. However, we do not determine or adjust any of those discounts or any of those assumptions utilized. And then another change this year, if you continue to page 19, the bottom of page 19, we did include a subsequent event note. We have included a consideration of the COVID-19 situation, and all of our clients, we have been, for any of our clients, we have released our audit reports recently. We did disclose the fact that you temporarily closed the club as of April 3rd, and that there's an unknown impact on the club and the system based on the decline in the market as well as the close of the operations. And then starting on page 20, you can see the individual balance sheet and income statement for each of the entities, the system, the club, and municipal, all described separately, because on the face of the financials, you see those on a consolidated basis. So if you see those individually, you can see those starting on page 20. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer anything for you.
I have a question. With respect to the last thing you talked about, subsequent event, we talked about the board of directors voted to temporarily close the course on April 3rd. Now there are votes and there are votes.
We didn't vote.
That's
You're
what I'm
correct.
saying. So I think that language needs to be changed. I don't know what does it need to say, Mr. President? Acting CEO. closed the
Acting
course?
CEO closed the course at the recommendation of management based on a poll of board members.
Okay. Did you get that?
I did, I can make that change.
Okay, thank you.
Any other items?
The only thing I noticed was on the club on page 22, showing the comprehensive earnings of $62,403.
Yes.
The 12-month numbers given at the January or the February meeting for December showed a year-to-date of $81,761 of net profit. The net profit and the comprehensive earnings, what's the difference in those two and why are they different?
Well, Kirsten, would you like to answer, or Kristen, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, so the 181,000 of the income from operations, are you saying that was in your, included
In our monthly-
internal financials?
Yes, ma'am. In our monthly board book, they showed a net profit for the club being $81,761. And then the number reflected in the audit under comprehensive earnings was $62,403. So I wasn't sure what the difference was between those two numbers as far as reporting and whether or not they were in fact even the same numbers.
181.
I would have to defer to Barbara on that because that wasn't the income, the net income we started with the audit. There must have been some adjustments at the end. The only audit adjustments we posted for the club, I believe, were to update the depreciation.
Okay.
Barbara, no.
I don't know.
You know,
And the number, that number we're talking about does include, just so there's no misconceptions, that number includes the $234,000 the water system gives the golf course to keep it solvent.
and then I guess ultimately to point out here on the net income for the system at 1.8 million. So, and then a profit of 62 for the club, and we did well as and a profit for Messi as well. So
That's right. And
in my opinion, for 2019, staff did a great job across all three business segments.
that's right. They did. And if you look at the income from operations, you're at 1.2 for the system, minus 181,000 for the club, and 105 in income for Messi.
So the money that the golf course is getting from us, we're not considering that revenue?
Well, we are.
So as far as the water system's concerned, that $180,000 in fees that are paid for effluent discharge are debit, but they're also income for the golf
club.
course.
That's right.
So the club did make money, just the water department paid what they would normally pay to Gulf Breeze at 55 cents a thousand gallons that we had agreed to at one point in the contract.
Not at all. Actually, why don't we get past approving the audit and then we will get into that discussion.
Okay.
Well, my only question would be if it was revenue, then why wouldn't it be put in the top part of that category?
And I can clarify that, and we're talking about the wastewater paid by the system to the club.
Yes.
That's correct.
That's fluent waste. Okay, that is all included in the other net income because it's not an operational revenue for the club because the club's purpose is obviously the courts and the restaurant, and that's why it's in the other grouping. So it's included in that $264,000 of the other revenue. And then since it's a payment between the club and the system, it is eliminated. So in the elimination column, you see that negative $234,000. And that is removing that related party revenue so that you're only reporting a net if it's consolidated because you wouldn't report that as revenue between the entities.
Any other questions?
But that's really just for tax purposes and banking purposes, correct?
No.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out why if you give it, you can take it back away.
It's,
You mean how it's eliminated?
Yes.
because in total it eliminates to zero. But you can't, since you gave it from one entity to another related entity that you own, you can't show it as revenue within, you gave that revenue to yourself per se.
Correct.
It's a related party transaction between the entities.
Yes.
Even though one entity is for profit and one entity is not for profit?
Correct, because you wholly own both the club and Massey.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So it is an elimination in both your other income, your other net income, as well as your operating and maintenance expense. So it's coming out of both categories.
But that's
Net
basic,
impact of zero.
but that's still basically for tax purposes, correct? To make the
It's for
books,
tax purposes,
yeah, to make the books balance.
correct.
Any more questions? Do we have a motion to?
I make a motion to approve as presented with the changes that Fred pointed out.
Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, do we want to discuss the loss now or whenever we get to hidden? Okay, that'll work. Discuss preparations for coronavirus outbreak. I've got a few that we did. I believe, is Barbara, are you on the line? Maybe we should go get her to call in. She's got more, I'm
Yes, sir,
sure.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give my things that we did for the coronavirus outbreak, and then I'm sure you're going to have some additional ones. We created a policy whereby employees that can perform their essential functions from home by telecommuting can do so during the COVID-19 restriction period. We created a policy whereby any employees that will receive that we will receive salary reimbursements for from the federal or state government due to the CDC's COVID-19 guidelines will keep their earned PTO as long as we are reimbursed from said governmental entities. We've closed the lobby to the general public. We've waived all late fees and penalties for the duration of the COVID-19 restrictions, as well as canceled all customer shutoffs for the same period. We've created a policy limiting employees to 2 persons per vehicle and requiring the wearing of face masks in those vehicles when there's more than 1 person in the vehicle. Barbara, do you have more?
We have signage all over the building, social distancing, washing hands. We constantly clean phones, keyboards, all workstations, door handles, daily with Clorox wipes. We have forms that we send out to the managers for any employees that have symptoms, how to report the symptoms and protocol on that. Make sure that they're eligible for any paid sick leave. Communicate with HR. That's about it.
Okay.
On the reimbursement from the government, have we applied for those loans and where's the process of that?
We are in the process of applying for the loans at the golf course. Yeah, we've got Cindy finished filling out the paperwork yesterday and sent it to me so we can transfer it over and then send it on to where it goes to.
And what about for the water department?
The water system hasn't shut down. I don't know if we've got any employees that qualify under the other guidelines, but as far as the payroll protection, under our water system is an essential business.
That is correct.
Okay.
Any others?
I've got one question for, I guess for Cindy's. Did you sign the paperwork for the reimbursement, or did Cindy sign that?
I'm supposed to sign it, but I haven't filled it. She sent it to me yesterday, and I haven't had a chance to get it plugged back into the computer so I can send it to where it needs to get sent, or send it off with my signature.
All right, and again, I would love to see us get reimbursed by the government. But as I understand it, the governor said the golf courses were essential recreational activity.
We aren't at the golf course yet, but I can assure you that the governor, nor any person in the governor's office in Tallahassee has said that. And if you can name their name, I would like to hear it.
I thought you sent a document to us
From
from the
the-
guy at the emergency wherever, right?
But that's, is this the right?
No, not
spot?
really.
Okay, well, here's what I'm getting to on that, saying that. Nearly all other golf courses in the city of Florida were open. I still believe that the governor said what he said he said, but anyway, the point is that kind of throw a monkey wrench into the gears of getting that reimbursement? Since we
No.
closed on our own,
No.
No.
okay. Good, I hope so.
Up. Is that Randy?
Is this a point where we want to talk about the golf course? in
No, we
terms
want to
of-
wait until we get to the golf course before we talk about the golf course. Can we do that?
Sure, but I'm only, here's the only thing I'm asking is, in the golf course, part of the agenda, it speaks nothing about reopening the golf course. Are we gonna be able to talk to that at
We'll
that
talk
point?
to that.
Okay, that's all I wanna know. Okay.
All right, next item on the agenda. Actions taken by the CEO. I've got a list of them. Most of them, I think. I've signed hundreds, or 100 or more POs, signed hundreds of checks, changed the PO limit from 500 to 2,500 for the individual managers to allow them to manage rather than chase signatures all day long. We approved the purchase of a hoist for the sewer treatment plant in the amount of approximately $4,000. We normally rent a hoist whenever we pull the equipment, and it costs us $1,500 to rent it whenever we pull the equipment, $1,500 to rent it whenever we put it back in. So twice, and we've paid for the hoist. Just seemed to make sense. We've approved sending,
Twice, and we paid for those.
okay, twice. Chris, correct.
Improved scenery, twice, and we paid for those. Mr. President? Okay, twice. Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President? It's actually $2,000 to become a bullet, and it's $2,000.
Chris, can you turn your volume down on your YouTube feed?
Yeah, I think I've got it now.
Thank you.
It's $2,000 in the bullet, and then it's $2,000 then to come back and set it, not $1,500. So
Okay.
the $4,000 that we were paying just in crane costs,
Each.
full gearboxes.
So, we did that. We renewed the contract with Clark Harding and Hart for the purpose of moving forward with the Eglin project. They were previously engaged in the contract drafting with the county. They're now working on financing proposals with Bill and Barbara. We attended meetings in Tallahassee, Pensacola, and Gulf Breeze for the purpose of working out the issues on the Eglin Ribs project in an attempt to secure $10 million in state funding for the project. To date, the agreement has been executed by all three parties and meets the anticipated requirements for said funding. Let's see here. We closed the golf course because I believe hearsay from a private organization that benefits financially when people play golf is not someone we should use when risking our members' assets. Nor do I personally believe that anyone's hobby is worth risking our employees' health or our members' assets for. By poll of the board, this was approved 4-2, but no action was taken. We approved the reopening of the golf course with the recommendation of management and with the restricted plan to allow members the ability to play, although we're still closed to the general public. file poll. The board approved this 4-3, but no action was taken. We allowed division managers to manage as they know how to do their job. If they didn't, they wouldn't be managers. At Sheriff Johnson's request, we allowed the Sheriff's Department to borrow one of our generators when they lost power at the command center on the island. I called Governor DeSantis' office, the Florida Department of Health, and the Florida Disaster Center, asking if golf was an essential activity and if the employees thereof were essential. To date, none have bothered a response. I even asked our lobbyists in Tallahassee, who spoke to the Attorney General's office. They received the same response as I did, nothing. We approved sending numerous easements for recording, or attempted recording that were left out in prior years. And that's pretty much it.
Since you've been operating as a CEO, have you given any raises to any employees, or is any restructuring of the
No,
org chart changed or anything?
no, I would never do that.
Okay. Well, you were authorized to do certain things. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yes, but
We're
no,
into that.
we didn't give anybody any raises, we didn't change any organizational charts or anything else.
So nobody qualified for the educational assistance or the bump in pay for their education?
Nobody has requested it,
Okay.
so.
So, Mr. President, my main issue here, I actually have three. It centers around Hidden Creek. So, the closing of Hidden Creek, there was the entire process was not done through an official board action. So, in my opinion, doing this process on an email is more like a straw poll. Because here's my problem. I'm okay, I mean, you closed, and I'll say you, closed because the CEO is the one that's going to have the authorization to do so. You closed the golf course, and then as the days went by, that would have been the perfect time for the board to come together to discuss the options that are related to the golf course. So we've been down, we've had the golf course shut down for now 18 days. My calculation is we've lost $115,000 in revenue, and the board has never come together to discuss the financial ramifications of shutting down the course, the plans, why this, why that. The members open, but they had to walk and all of that kind of stuff. So,
Can I ask a question, Mike? You said how much we possibly lost in 18 days?
115,000.
Well, the golf course best month is $123,000 in gross revenue, so how could we lose that in 18 days?
Your best month last year off of you averaged 182.
How
182.
much month was that, sir?
There's 2019 revenues for April and May and June. So you had 183 in revenue in April of 2019, 182,000 in May of 2019, and 184,000 in June of 19. So, I mean, rough ballpark. We're just
Yeah,
using
I'm
big
just
numbers.
asking. Thank you for
Yeah, exactly.
clarifying.
No, that's a problem. I mean, I'm calculating somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 a week that we're losing in revenue. The problem is the board did not come together as an action to make that kind of decision. And as we've spoken before, I mean, the CEO is not even allowed to spend more than $25,000 without board approval. So, I personally asked for a meeting,
Special meeting,
a
yeah.
special meeting to be called, because for me, I think when we get together as a group, we have a lot better ideas than just one person or something like that. And then we come together as leaders, and then from leaders, we wind up giving a better message back to the people. There was nothing but confusion.
I believe you called for a special meeting about a day before Cindy decided she had her plan to reopen the golf course.
I don't believe that, no,
I'll have to go back and look at the emails, but we did.
It's fine, Mr. President. the point is this board did not act like a board. This board was, it felt like you took all decision-making capabilities away from this board.
It says,
And let me be more practical than that. I've been to several golf courses, and I can tell you, and all the guys I play golf with going all over the place. The things that Cindy and her team did to help us prevent from getting COVID-19 were 1,000 times better. And they're still, was the entire point today. Haven't changed a thing. They still got, everything open. You walk in the clubhouse. I mean, none of the stuff that our people did was that. It's just a night and day. There was no practical reason in my mind for us to close. And I don't know, I still think it's unconscionable. I'm with you with respect to the way it was done, Michael, but the practical thing was there was no need to do that.
I appreciate that. On the day we decided to close it, we took a poll of the board. So had we met that day, it would have still been 4-3.
I don't believe that for a minute. If we had had a conversation and I'd been allowed to discuss things and what I'd seen at the golf course and what I'd seen at other golf courses and heard about, I think we might have had some different things. I think if James, Mr. Dabney, had some of his questions answered that he asked that very day, when you polled him, you might have had a different result. Mike's right, we needed to come together as a board and have a full discussion, full disclosure, hear everything from Cindy, and I have to applaud Cindy and her team. They did a magnificent job. And I don't know anywhere, all the guys are out there, they were at Emerald Bay today. Same thing.
Why don't?
Now, doesn't compare to what we did here.
I think when we first got this, what information I was provided is what I made my decision on. And then down the road, what other information that was provided, I would have never voted to close the golf course. Based on that information being provided, that it wasn't closed by the governor.
Well, does it say in the governor's executive order that golf courses are to remain open?
no, it does not.
Does it say in the governor's list of essential employees in the state of Florida that golf course
And that's
employees?
a great discussion for a board to have, sir, not for you to decide. The
I
board
asked.
would come here and we would decide and mitigate whether or not that is a risk
That
the
we are
board
willing to
would
take.
discuss. We would discuss that, but it was, it wasn't until the day, I believe the board was never sent the fact that, Cindy and staff had already developed their protocols for it. What are they gonna do, right? So, some of the board may have gone into that meeting thinking, well, they're not even prepared, but they were, or not even on the email chain. I'm back to the process, Mr. President,
Management was worried that we couldn't do it.
and the board would have been happy to listen to management to help see if we can solve or be part of the solution.
Management came up with a solution.
After the fact, we're talking about now.
I
We
wouldn't
can
give
work-
it, you can give it 3 or 4 days. We still should have come together as a board. Right now, the decision was a straw poll decision. It's unacceptable, sir.
I understand that. Right now, we've got a plan from management as to how to move forward. And based on your list, here, we've shown that we need the PPE for the employees. We've told the board that we don't have it. That doesn't seem to bother you. The only thing that seems to bother you is not being able to play golf at our golf course.
Incorrect, sir.
what did you
That's-
just
Well,
say?
whenever, I said, well,
That's just speculation.
yesterday,
You know what? Let's talk about what you
that
just
was in
said.
your list that you sent out yesterday. Cindy sent out a list saying that we don't have proper PPE for the employees and the cleaning equipment
Well, let's
that's
go right back
necessary.
to Cindy. This is where, as a board, we would discuss this and ask, Cindy, do you feel confident that you can protect your employees? If she does, we move forward. If she
Yes.
doesn't, we move forward and then we get her the resources she needs.
Ask her right now, she's right there.
I couldn't agree more. I think this is a great time to do that. which we should have done 14 days ago.
We did.
We did what?
Ask Cindy.
Okay, did you
I
ask the
asked
board?
Cindy. No, I did ask the board that day.
Was there a board action without a meeting?
No, there was not.
Was there a board meeting?
No, there was
So
not.
where did this decision come from? There was an official board action.
Okay, so let me clarify that for Kevin, Darrell. On October 15th, 2019, there was a meeting in this room of the board members. You voted for it, you voted for it, you voted for it. Some other board members voted for it that are in the room right now. Responsibility including interview, hiring, training employees, planning, assigning, directing work, appraising performance, rewarding and disciplining employees, addressing complaints, resolving problems, and when necessary, terminating employees following established HR guidelines. Kevin seconded that.
And I'm all for that.
Yeah, we're okay
Giving the
with that.
CEO the authorization to run the company.
Did we give the
Because we
authorization
don't want to,
extend-
quote unquote, they
extend
said, neuter anybody.
Did we extend his paying ability to be able to lose this, how much?
We'll go with, let's just round down, we'll go to 100,000.
Did we give the authorization to lose $100,000?
You know what? And just not trying to split hairs, but there's no losing ability in the guidelines what the CEO could lose with the company, only purchasing. Just so you know that, Kevin.
Correct, but it's still, the idea we're saying here is the CEO does not have the ability to shut down a business segment without the board's approval.
You gave it to him on October 15th, 2019.
A business
Does that say
segment.
I think that was all about, those were personnel issues,
Complete
not
businesses.
running the company.
Does it say
In
full
any
business?
case,
Now,
All three businesses.
in any case, okay,
Can I ask you one question?
Can I say one
You
thing?
said, you said something before, you said the straw poll, and I didn't catch it, I don't know.
I
why.
don't
I
remember.
don't know what,
Well, I mean, the voting again is just, in my opinion, just a
Yeah, I
straw
mean,
poll.
before
It's not,
that,
it's
it was a straw
poll,
poll.
it's not
That's
an
right.
official
and,
bonus.
oh,
That's
and
correct.
let me just say, you dang right, I'm upset at having to pay $44 today to go to Tiger Point and play. Though it's a nice course, and they're very welcoming to us that came out there. But Hidden Creek is my golf course, so as a golfer, as a player, you're dang right, I'm upset, along with a lot of other members and whatnot, and players, non-members. But as a board member, I'm all over it with Mike and the comments that there should have been a board meeting to discuss it all. James should have had the information with respect to what they'd already done, what they'd already accomplished out there. I believe that's what James was saying when he said he would have voted differently if he had that information in his hand. Now that is the root issue. We did not everyone was armed with all that information or had witnesses as Mike and I had because we played. And I think if you had heard us discuss it in some detail, we probably would have turned a couple other people our way. And that's, again, my opinion, and that's from a board member standpoint.
Of the 30 or 40 emails that the board received in reference to this, were they all answered in a timely fashion?
Nope.
They were not answered, were they answered at
Some
all?
of them, I answered as many as I could, given the time. You know, the board was, everybody at the board received the emails. The board members are the ones that had the people send the emails. They were bypassing the website.
That's not true, sir.
For the most part, they were.
With the email address?
Yes, for the most part,
So
they were
we-
bypassing the website.
Well, we had actually given that email address, the BOD at HNWS-FL.com, at this meeting. And it was part of my presentation as well, or our presentation, when we
Yeah.
went out to the different organizations as a screen. That's how we get in touch with the BOD. So it's not true that
That's
they were.
the address I was telling people until we were directed otherwise by Tori.
Okay. Given the same scenario again, given that management was fearful for the safety of their the employees at the golf course, I'd make the same decision again.
Question, okay, how did this start? You know how this started? Mr. DeLay over there writes an email concerned about our personnel and has the audacity to say we ought to close the golf course because they'll get harmed, and doesn't even close his own business. Now what kind of cockamamie stuff is that? He's not gonna, you
Fred,
don't worry about us.
Fred, tread lightly, because I will sue you. Tread lightly, my
Right,
friend.
right.
Tread lightly. You are being warned, the attorney's here. If you say anything malice against me, I will sue you personally, Fred.
Okay.
And misquoting me,
Malice?
Fred, why don't you quote it correctly, Fred?
What did you say then?
Anything on a board communication between board members, you passed the policy. I've got your guys' policy right here too. The policy becoming of a board member right here.
Hey,
What I said, there may be
call
a
like I
concern
see
with
it,
the golf
okay?
course, Fred.
I
And that
call
was
it like I see
it.
it.
Here's my concern though, okay, and this is to the board. You are willing to do this again. You say without having board input.
No, I did it last time with board input, but if management is fearful for the safety of our employees, you're suggesting that that the board can come out in here and just override that decision?
Why would I override it? I would like to know about it.
That is why you're
I would like
arguing,
to speak with
that's
our
why
with the
that's
managers
why you're complaining
personally.
right now. You've been out and talked to all the employees at the golf course. You should have stopped by Cindy's office.
The point though is, if Cindy is comfortable and prepared, if she wasn't,
She wasn't.
we are here to help. We never had that chance. You took that chance. You decided how the whole thing played out. So I don't know how to go over it again. You know, the rest of the board, you guys decide whether or not you agree with this. I find that your actions are unacceptable. You know, I think that this board should have been the ones that was leading and directing and also providing guidance to our members as we go forward. You know, where we come together as actually a unit and not looking incompetent. But
So the board should take over management now, correct?
That's what I'm thinking.
Hey,
I'm ready to make a motion now. If the board's wanting to vote on that, on the no confidence of the CEO.
really?
I'm ready to vote for it.
yeah, grants are mine. I don't even know where else to go, Mr. President. I mean, I'm fearful of the fact that you're not getting the fact that this board is the one that does the directing, and we're the ones who direct you, who is now CEO.
That's correct, and I am the president, and I'm a member of this board.
You are the president that presides over a board meeting.
That's
You are a
correct.
CEO that is giving direction from the board. You don't get to have dictatorship.
I'm not a dictator, that's why I asked the board.
Well, I just read something in that same email that Will provided that he read. What month was that?
That was October 15, 2019.
The rest of that should be read just as well as what you just read just a minute ago. And what I read about having too much power, that's why we.
No, I made that point, but me and Daryl voted no to allow the CEO to have much authority, and the other board presided said, no, that's how it's gonna be. So, yeah, I'll read the rest of it to them too, if they wanna read the
Yeah,
transcript,
I'm just trying to figure out.
you know.
To me, that sounded like it was addressed to the water systems. Wasn't addressed towards the golf course or message.
And just as a follow-up, I mean, I've also seen those emails that Kevin was referring to. In our code of conduct, we stated that the CEO, or the president is the voice for the board.
Mhm.
If you are not responding back to our members,
I am doing the best that I can.
Have we ever had something like this before, Mike? I mean, seriously.
I mean, we're dealing with kind of unusual times.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Can we help? You know?
Yes, you can help. That's why I asked everybody's opinion.
The trashing other board members isn't a really good help though either.
With-
I mean,
Without adequate information provided to us.
Yes.
you had the information that I had.
I don't believe that. I mean, until Fred Teresa contacted Cindy to say, what's your rubric, what's your policy, what are you doing? She gave me that document that was a couple weeks old, first time most everybody'd seen that. Is that not accurate, James?
Which document's that?
Why wasn't that sent out?
I don't know what document you're talking about.
It was the protocols they were using at that point to run the golf course. And I believe that's what James was referring to, maybe I'm wrong.
I never.
Remember I said
never
that?
seen it either, so.
I never seen it either. I don't know.
Yeah.
Correct. And that,
I sent it out there,
that's the
but-
point, that's another thing. I mean, Cindy and staff developed the protocols in a document. The board was never supplied with that to realize that the staff was already prepared. They had protocols in place. They were ready to go. I never received it. The only reason we received it, and Fred and I went and saw Cindy. She gave us a physical copy, and Fred emailed you guys. Fred did it.
That was when Cindy was developing the plan to reopen the golf course, correct?
No.
there's something-
We're still
I've seen
trying to
something
get
in
someone
place
to
that was
think
already in
about
place.
Yeah.
the whole situation. This was, these are the protocols that were in place on the day that the decision was made by the president to close, or the CEO to close the golf course.
Cindy, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Can you shed any light on this or add any, would you like to add anything to this?
I can. On the April 1st, I believe it was April 1st, Jamie and I worked on a schedule of what we had done that we were going to send out to everybody. On April 2nd is when the stay-at-home order came through, and Fred and Mike came into my office, and I handed them both a piece of paper. And then I also emailed it to Daryl same day. And that paper had all the list of everything that we had done to prepare for COVID.
That was never presented. Now, as the CEO, I consider it the CEO's responsibility to keep the board informed. You know, staff goes to CEO comes to us. That's what we've been trying to work on here as chain of command. And
But
I,
didn't, was that your,
They already had a
the operational,
that was what they had been doing for the past 2 weeks, correct?
Yeah, essentially.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
With, I think, a couple exceptions, like closing the bathroom and something else. I don't remember what they were. But, yeah, essentially that's, and then, that's something I think the board should have seen before it made it any straw poll.
Cindy, I have
Yeah.
a quick question. The, on the Facebook page for the golf course, it talks about the course being closed. The board of directors closed the golf course, and then recently it was the one about the board of directors voted to reopen the golf course. Where did you get the impression that the board had voted?
The first one, and you will see, an email went out saying the same thing that Jamie had put out. And he said that the board of directors has closed it. When we reopened it, I felt that I should give credit to the board because people were looking down at the board for it being closed. So I wanted to be kind of uplifting and let everybody know that the board has discussed and we are going to reopen. I knew that there was a straw poll. I didn't know if it was a regular vote or not, but I knew the board of directors had discussed it, and that was the decision that was made.
Okay. So I guess that's one of my biggest concerns in all of this, is that membership is looking at this as, for me, Kevin voted for this to close. And I didn't have the opportunity.
and you don't have minutes.
And I don't have minutes to show the members about a vote. There wasn't a, and the fact that the impression is being put out that the board took action and closed, and the board took action to open, is very concerning to me
I had
from a
all-
standpoint of, no, we didn't.
No, the board didn't. I did.
And as CEO, if there was an emergency, you had all the right in the world to close it. But there should have been a board meeting called immediately following that, within the next couple of days, to discuss the options of what needed to happen. And not 14 or 18 or however many days later we are now.
Well, we're 18 days later now. It's been open
So-
since last Wednesday, correct?
You know, that's the point that I see, that's the main failure that sticks in my craw, that is, we're being saddled with this decision that we didn't make. If there had been a vote, then it would have been a record of how each individual board member voted. If it was a board action without a meeting, then it would have been unanimous consent among the board, but none of that has happened. And that's where the failure, to me, happened.
And I want to put out there too, I'm no different than Will. I kept my business open, but we followed all the guidelines provided to us from the state and the health department and all that stuff. Like I said, I made my vote based on what information I was provided or was told about, because I thought it was a governor's action.
James.
And then going back later on, the governor came back in and changed it the very next morning after we'd already voted. So there was, on Daryl's behalf, there was some paperwork out there, but that paperwork did not get clarified till the next day. Am I correct?
Okay, two things. The government, the state of Florida and the governor's office, they've given you instructions as to how to proceed. They've told restaurants exactly what they need to be doing. The next day, you're correct, that was not from the government. That was from a private entity called the PGA of Florida.
No, there was another one. There was one that morning too that, but the governor never came back and said the courses weren't closed, but the governor never said the courses were open.
That is correct.
So the PGA, the letter that we got or somebody sent to us, but I did personally contact Daryl, and I'll tell you, and we were going off, I was, not him, I was going off the information that I seen, that I read. But it did not specifically say to close the golf course. It had recommendations on a lot of things.
And-
Not just, I mean, when you read that thing, it's, you know, it's.
Not unlike your business, Cindy handled the business of the golf course with her team, Jamie, and I believe Chip was involved. His network of people described, as well as Jamie's research, what they were doing to stay open, even in California, which was really evident right now.
But you realize though, even with the steps Cindy was taking, she was still concerned about the safety of the employees and the members. Because the majority of our members are older, okay? And they were prone to this virus. Just so you know, Fred, I'm just letting you know. She
Hey,
had
I'm old,
concerns
hey, I'm
also.
older too. I'm
Well-
73, I'm an old guy, but I know how to protect, we you know, try
Okay,
to
but
protect
we can
ourselves.
put you up here in the 1%, you know what I'm saying? There's other people that are like that.
Let's just look at it this way. We've all, you know, I just got back on the board. We've all sat here, we've made decisions. Some people don't like other people's decisions. At the end of the day, we're having another meeting about the golf course on Thursday.
No.
No, tomorrow 11.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow 11.
Mhm.
Again, there's 3 too
Yeah.
many. Pensions Thursday.
That's right, pensions Thursday.
So tomorrow, we're having a meeting on that. So we'll be able to sit down, discuss what we're gonna do going forward on that meeting for the golf course, correct?
We
I
can-
thought we would make that decision tonight, Mr. President.
Oh,
Tomorrow is a personnel
Big
meeting,
golf
right?
course.
Tomorrow's the personnel
Yes,
meeting.
sir.
Okay.
That's that. So, I mean, I felt as a director, and God bless them, people who came out and elected us, all of us on the board as representatives, that we are representatives as their voice and our voice, because guess what? We're now together, and now we're getting each other's opinion, when we should have already done that.
Well, like Daryl said, and I understand, I've listened to what you had to say, and I've read your emails, all right? I've read every email, okay? I was on the board as president when we purchased the golf course out of bankruptcy with Meadowbrook. I was the one that went along with spending $7 million on a golf course. That was me. I'll hang that hat. I'm right here. That was me, because I think it's something we need in the community. I golf. The last thing I want to do is see the golf course shut down, no matter what Fred thinks or anybody else in the community thinks. Probably don't golf as good as you, because I only go once a year, but I do golf. I support Cindy's decisions. I think she's doing a great job. Said last December, we were all here, we praised her, what she was able to do with the numbers of the golf course. The board had to make some tough decisions. What happened right now freaked a lot of people out. There's still people that are not coming out, all right? This is a bad thing. Some people can say it's a bad flu, Chinese flu, whatever you want to call it. But at the time, with the information we had, I felt it was necessary to inform the board of my opinion. It was my opinion. That's all it was. Cindy made a decision. Daryl made a decision. We had a straw poll. They took all that information together, and that's what they did. Now, the next day, new information came out. Maybe we should have had a meeting. A lot of us are busy. James has been super busy. I've been super busy. I've got employees. He's got employees. Some of you don't have more employees than yourself or one person. Some of us, I have 9 employees. I don't know how many he has. So we've been super busy. It's a volunteer position. That doesn't mean we shouldn't give it 100% either. But what I'm saying is, this has never happened before. Maybe the Spanish flu has happened before. I wasn't alive back then. I know you weren't alive back then either, okay? But I'm just saying, I understand your concerns. We can beat a dead horse all night on this.
Yes.
I understand. Whenever there's a catastrophe, Opal, Ivan, whatever, we always learn from it, okay? And that's what we try to do, is learn from it. I've learned stuff from this decision. James has, Daryl, Kevin, Fred, Mike,
Yep.
Grant on the other line, Cindy. We've all learned something from this, what we can do for protection. She still doesn't have masks out there. You realize that? She doesn't have the PPE stuff to clean the cart yet. She doesn't have that stuff. Can't find wipes, you can buy 2 at a time. Well, you figure, I read your math about the carts 80 times and all that stuff. You know.
Well, I mean, my only thing I'm gonna say on that is, masks are out there. Whether or not you're really looking for them, it's a different decision.
Okay.
Because they are available.
And she will speak to that when we
And I
get
understand
there.
that.
But I'm just saying, like I said, there was concern on both ends here, and I think the safety of our employees always comes first. We shut our office down. I mean, we shut our office down. It's drive up only here at Holley-Navarre Water System. We protected our employees here. We need to make sure we give the same protection to the employees at the golf course too.
But going back to what Will just said, I'm gonna recap what my understanding is. So in, what'd you say, February or January?
Which
With
one?
Cindy, when we praised Cindy.
December.
So in December, we praised Cindy for the job she's doing. I'm not saying she's doing a bad job. But 3 days ago, there was an article in the newspaper saying the numbers that we were given was misconstrued. So either the golf course made money or the golf course is losing money. You can't praise somebody in December and then in March, April say, those numbers aren't true, you really didn't tell us the truth.
Well, I
No, there's,
think
that's
that's-
a different
Well, I'm just
discussion.
saying, somebody's,
And
I mean,
yes,
I'm
you can-
totally confused because according to these paper I'm looking at, you know, I'm sitting here looking at these numbers. Golf course in February of 2020, revenue was 145. Net profit was 10,000. I'm looking at March.
She did a great year.
Cindy did do a great year last year.
I'm looking at March of 2020. I'm talking about right now, current, today's date.
Yes, sir.
Golf course made in February, 10,000. March made 14,000. So either we made 24,000 or we lost 24,000. If we're gonna sit here and say that the golf course, because Holley-Navarre Water is giving it stipends, if you wanna call it like the federal government does, but then we're gonna turn around and take it away from the golf course to try to make it look like a negative, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think we're there at all. Yeah, we're just sitting here, we're talking about Hidden
talking
Creek
about-
and the
yeah.
shutdown.
Well, I
We'll talk
understand that,
about
but
it.
I'm just saying, we're gonna praise on one side and then we're gonna say it's losing money on the other. I don't go for that.
Yeah, and I think that's
Numbers
a
are numbers.
That's
real
a,
good
that's
discussion.
that's a good discussion.
Yeah.
I think just.
I don't think we're going anywhere, gentlemen, unless the board has something that they wish to say. I just needed to say my piece.
Sure.
Let's close out the water systems part of the meeting, and then we can get into the golf course, because we just need to close the water system. We can talk about the golf course numbers, because we kind of slipped into the golf course here.
We finished we had personnel, I guess, is what you're saying?
Yeah, and then you're
Yeah,
supposed to
personnel.
comment on the golf course
Yeah.
committee.
Okay,
That's why I'm saying we just need to do
Okay.
personnel first, and
all right, finish personnel and let's go.
I just
Okay,
want
Mr.
to
President?
remind the board that we have a personnel meeting tomorrow. Since this personnel is close to the public, at 11 a.m. Stephanie from Lambden is going to video conference in, okay?
Okay,
The attorney will be here, and Cindy will be here also.
And we do have some board members that have requested some information on our meeting for tomorrow. I was uncomfortable emailing it because our employee handbook says that we're supposed to view that information at the water system.
That's correct.
And the way our policy works is I was uncomfortable as CEO making that decision to email stuff. So the board can vote tonight and make a ruling on that.
I'm comfortable looking at it tomorrow.
Tomorrow's
There's no
fine.
reason to change anything.
We come in early. So an hour, you think an hour is gonna be enough?
Yeah, 11 to 12 should be fine, because Stephanie has 11 to 12 block for us. That's when she
I've
can.
got workers coming in right afternoon, okay.
And as a side note, but on the same thing on personnel. So we've gotten nowhere on the CEO search. I know you're very busy.
Kevin and I were talking about that prior to the meeting. If you can bring any information you have tomorrow to this personnel meeting, and afterwards, since it's not a called meeting, it's just an information meeting for us, we could go over a few things after that meeting if you guys have time.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Because otherwise, I'm a 7 o'clock in the morning guy, but I changed my schedule to be 11 o'clock guy tomorrow, all right?
Right, so, I mean, just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up, the way that I'm seeing this, to get our CEO search going, we just all need to, because unfortunately, we seem to be in the same spot you were when you looked at your 2018 minutes.
Yeah.
We need to decide on a job description, pick a salary range, and then decide, if we get someone to help find us a CEO,
Yes.
and ask everybody else to send us some stuff.
Yes.
That's my recommendation, but we'll confirm that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, we ready to golf now?
Again?
You're
Let's
good,
go.
Fred.
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, let's handle the financials, and then Cindy got a lover, send us all an email, and then send out these rules. Have everybody seen the rules?
Yes.
And I'm hoping that as she concludes the financial aspect, that we'll be able to be allowed as a board to decide based on these rules to reopen or not.
Could we go ahead and discuss that now, or do you want to do it afterwards?
It doesn't matter to me, whichever way the board would like to proceed.
Since it's sort of in the golf round, and then we give it to Cindy to go over the financials, and then we can be done.
Well, let's see what she has to say first.
Right.
In reference
Okay.
to, if that's what you're getting at.
Technically, we have to,
Yeah,
in my opinion, technically, we have to do it on the golf course,
perfect.
because you can't oversee two boards at the same time, in my opinion. I think it's sticky, so I think we can lead into that after this financials with Cindy when we open the golf course meeting, in my opinion.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay,
So
go Cindy.
Just a technical.
done with water system. Now we're moving on to the Club at Hidden Creek.
So,
C,
we can make a motion
to,
to adjourn or are we just gonna roll into the golf?
we just roll in the golf
Okay.
course meeting whenever.
Cindy,
Are you ready for me?
Yes,
Yep,
ma'am.
go ahead, Cindy.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start with the January financials. We had a revenue of $123,702 with an expense of $116,956. So in January, we had a fourth operating income of $6,746. February, we had fourth revenue of $145,548 with expenses of $113,073 with fourth operating income of $32,475. And then in March, we have another good month. Fourth revenue is $170,632. Total expenses, $132,976, with an operating income of $37,657. That actually brings year-to-date fourth operating income of a positive $76,877. So that's my financials for January, February, and March.
Okay, let's see what she's got here. We've,
Do you want to make a motion to approve?
make a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the January, February, March financials for Hidden Creek as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Is there any discussion before I get started?
Yes, I have one question, Mr. President.
Before you get started.
Mm-hmm.
Sprayfield
Okay, it's got Sprayfield income listed on the balance sheet on this, and I would thought in the actuary, the way they were describing it, it's not considered income. And it's a lesser amount than what the board approved. So is that being used up in somewhere else? You see what I'm saying? Because it's figured at 15.6 and the board gives 19,999.
All of last year, it was 15,000 and,
No.
15,600. All last
56 a
year.
month. Okay, yeah, 234.
No, it was 19.9.
19.
What's it show us?
This year, we went down.
This year it went to
15.6.
15.6.
Mr. Williamson said they were gonna reduce it again for this year. That's why there's a difference.
Yeah.
I think he reduced it by 20% or something,
Yeah,
whatever that
something
number
like
is. That's, so that's why it's down, but
It's listed
Now,
as income
so-
on this sheet, and,
it's regular, it's 15.6 on this.
but I'm saying it's listed as income.
It's
Okay.
considered
Yeah,
income.
yeah, so,
It is income.
It is
so
considered income.
what is it?
It is,
I mean,
I mean,
It is-
Okay.
it's consi- It's considered income because at the end of the day, if Holley-Navarre Water is paying the golf course a spray field right to let us spray on there, it's a lease. It's
Can this-
still considered income, yes or no?
Yes.
It's considered
I'll
income,
go
so why
with
are
it.
we?
I'll go with it. All I would say is, realistically, guys, we need to go back and look at history. Because if you don't look at history, you start drinking your own Kool-Aid.
context is everything.
Yeah, context is everything. Back in 2015, the board decided to start giving the golf course $39,000, $39,500 a month, worked out to $474,000 a year. Now, that wasn't because the board felt like they needed to pay the golf course. No golf course actually gets paid from water systems to accept water. As a matter of fact, the only way they can get water is from us. It'd be impossible for them to get permitting from the Northwest Florida Water Management System to dig wells to pump 1.5 million gallons a day. They have to take it from us if they want to run a golf course. But back in 2015 and 14 in particular, the board was meeting, and every time we'd meet, we'd have to give the golf course $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 a month. And the general public, we would call it a loan, and the general public got mad. They didn't like seeing their money being wasted at a golf course as they saw it. So, rather than the board having to do that every month, the board came up with a number that they thought would make the golf course solvent on a monthly basis, and they called it income. And that way, the board didn't have to vote every meeting to loan it more money. Because the loan worked out to about $4 million at that point. Now, if you take what the golf course has taken from Holley-Navarre Water System over the term since it has been purchased by Holley-Navarre Water System, in excess of our $2 million initial investment, we spent another $5,182,000. That means we on average, the members of Holley-Navarre Water System have given the club at Hidden Creek almost $740,000 a year for 7 years. We can argue over whether you want to call it income or a loan or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's just money we give them. So the members don't get mad and tell us to close the golf course like they were in 2014.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I know this was a goal of ours last year. The absolute end game for Hidden Creek is to become a viable business with no, we'll call it self-sustaining, within a year or two or three, without yanking all, we'll call it the subsidy out from under them.
Hang on. The goal was, and
And
Cindy.
you guys have been reducing that over time.
And Cindy may agree with this. The goal was, by the end of this year in December, that the water system would not have to fund the club at Hidden Creek anymore. That was my goal.
And just to make sure, because I wanted to mention this, and whenever you started talking, it popped into my head again. We said Cindy did a good job last year. She did. She did an amazing job last year.
I can't agree more.
We have never lost less than $500,000 at the golf course whenever you back out our subsidies. And last year, I think it was somewhere, once you back that out, it's somewhere around $150,000. So that's an amazing turnaround for the golf course.
And I would just like to say, if we don't talk about, I mean, not that we're not talking about it, but if we take all revenue minus expenses, according to the audit, and we're not talking about where's revenue coming from. All revenue minus expenses, Cindy's team turned a profit last year of $62,000. And that's the first time in history that I'm aware of that.
But the only thing is.
And her reduction of the revenue was from 39.9 to 19.5.
I'll give you this, Mike, I'll give you this. With depreciation figured in,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But actual hard cost, like a small business person, actual hard cost, no, we didn't make money last year. But we've done better than we've done since we purchased the property in 2014. And just so everybody understands, the reason why in 2015 we had to do this is Holley-Navarre water system was wanting to get loans and grants, and it was affecting our credit rating because we had another company that was hemorrhaging so much money, we wouldn't have an A rating anymore. We were going down to a B+. So at the time, the general manager sought with the board, and there was board members that didn't agree with it and voted against it, just so you know. They wanted to shut it down, get away with it, didn't care. And we seen forethought as a board for Holley by the Sea, Hidden Creek Estates, and the citizens of Navarre. It was a viable thing to have. That's why we invested money in it. So that's what irritates me when people say, I don't want the golf course open. That's not true. That's definitely not true. I think Cindy's done a great job. She's thinking outside the box. But she's looking at it as her own business because she's a general manager. It's her job to run the golf course.
Right.
And that's her job. And I think she's done a great job. And I appreciate her sticking with it, sticking with this board for all these years, because she's seen the ups and downs of the golf course. She's seen different managers come and go. She's seen different boards come and go. I commend Cindy on what she's been able to do with the golf course. It's the best looking course in Northwest Florida. Chip's done an awesome job with the greens.
All right, so here's my question, and I'm not, obviously, I used to work at Tiger Point, so I do know a lot about golf courses. What would it take, Cindy, what would it take to, and I guess it's probably in your paperwork, what would it take to mow that grass every single day, 30 days a month or 31 days a month? Average monthly salary, and how many people would it take to maintain that course? Not in playable status, but in operational status as a spray field.
That's a tough question. I know it's.
Are we talking 4,000 a week? We talking 5,000 a week?
I've got it.
Well, you'd have to have the equipment too, but it'd be about 5,000.
So we're actually, Holley-Navarre Water is getting off cheap by going ahead and giving you 15,000 a month.
Good point, that's what you're saying.
So we're actually, Holley-Navarre Water is saving $4,000 a month by you keeping that course open and you generating in the month of March, $14,000 profit.
Well, now we are. But we weren't in the past because we had to invest $5 million to get here, James.
But, I mean, that's what you work towards.
Right, but I know that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I can tell you in my
understand your
business,
logic.
I don't make money the first 3 years of my operation. In any business, anybody small business makes money in 3 years. I want to hold your hand and see how you did it. I'm gonna follow you around.
At the end
We can't sit here and we're arguing apples and apples. Let's argue apples and apples.
well, if you wanted
It's
to,
still cheaper than us having to pay someone to spray that field and to cut the grass.
And to your point, I think we all, as James just pointed out, there's a viable reason for the golf course to also be a business, and we're saving money.
I mean, I'll be the first one to stand up here and tell you, if it ain't making money, I'll vote right now tonight to sell that golf course.
And you know, it's interesting, we talk about, we're $5,000 cheaper doing it, at least in the current situation of think about what we're spending or could possibly spend to go to England. I mean, in comparison to.
Yeah, but it's $7 million cheaper right now though, so that's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
But we can't live with that forever either.
that's
All
right.
right, so I think we're at a point now, if we didn't vote yet, we need to vote.
Yeah, we need to vote to approve the financial
Let's
statements.
do that.
And the one thing that, just so everybody understands the financial statement, we call it the one that we look at and we approve in our book every time.
Yeah.
This is not a profit and loss report. This is an operational cash flow statement. So That's what we approve. It's never gonna match up to what's on the profit and loss statement, and it's definitely never gonna match up to what's on the audit report at the end of the year.
Right, because the COI, which the members can't see, which is the course operating income that
That's right.
she's reporting here, like, for example, in February of $32,475.
Mhm.
That's $32,000 in a profit based on course operating income.
No, that's $32,000 in positive cash flow.
Positive cash flow.
From operations. Doesn't take into account loan payments on the golf carts and the other equipment that we may have. So it's operational cash flow.
Gotcha.
You know,
But it's a viable number that, and
From an operational standpoint, it is an operational positive cash flow.
Okay. Because you're an accountant.
Yeah,
and
less the leases and equipment.
Yeah, and we look to your
Yeah.
expertise
Yeah.
as well.
As long as you call it a cash flow statement, you're perfect.
Okay.
You just can't call it a profit and loss statement.
I got you.
So at the end of the day, for every dollar that loses, that's less taxes Holley-Navarre Water has to pay.
Holley-Navarre Water System is a nonprofit organization.
Still, it's all a
We
group.
never have paid taxes.
Somebody's paying taxes somewhere.
Okay.
You
We
got-
call for a vote, whatever you call it.
I make it, well, we got a vote in a
We
We
second.
have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. President, as a part of golf course business, may I make a motion that we add to the agenda an item that says we'll vote on whether to reopen the golf course based on Cindy's new rules that we've all got.
I think
Second
that
the
was part of
modification to the agenda.
I think that was part of the thing.
Modification of the
Why don't
agenda.
we get Cindy's input on it?
Oh, yeah.
Cindy,
Yeah,
can we get your
well, I
input?
would like,
Go ahead.
yeah, I would like to open the golf course effective as early as tomorrow. I do have some rules in place, that I want to make sure that, everybody maintains social distancing of at least 6 foot. No groups more than 10 people can group together at a time. The golf course, I feel, the clubhouse should remain closed and everybody come in through the window in the golf shop to check in. I would like to, with our insurance, with the COVID policy in there, we still need to have a waiver signed with everybody. No more than 4 persons per group. Basically, everything that we did before with some additional PPE, but we would like to get this golf course back open again.
Has nobody approached you about bringing masks or having masks made, or, I mean, N95 mask is the big topic of discussion.
I do have some masks on order. They're not coming in until May 20th. I've had trouble buying those, but my mother has started making masks for us, and I should have a big enough supply by in the morning to be able to have it for my staff to open.
Cindy, if you need any more, let me know. I can probably supply at least 10 tomorrow if you need them.
Okay, thank you.
Did we say that our employees at Holley-Navarre Water System are in fact,
Supposed to have
Wear
masks in
masks?
their truck?
we don't have a supply of them?
We're out of them. Barbara bought some reusable masks. I think she was gonna send some to the golf course, but we only had a limited amount of them. They're on the 25th, we're supposed to get 1,000 N95 masks in, and that's for the entire system, so they'll definitely be going to the golf course too.
Cindy, do you have everything that you need, and are you confident in opening the course tomorrow morning?
I do. I do still want to get some more of the Lysol White, but I do feel that we are sanitizing everything we possibly can, and I am comfortable opening the golf course.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Kilpatrick,
Yes, sir.
the waiver. Is that something we really need from a legal standpoint?
I would.
All right.
I would definitely make sure that they're on notice that this, potentially could happen, and they could contract it.
And the biggest thing or easiest thing to do is at the sign-up window, you have a sign made that says, here's our rules, here's our guidelines, here's what it is. Upon entering the premise, you've already signed the documentation
And agreed to it.
and agreed to it. And whether or not they've signed it, the sign is there where the sign-up sheet is. Now, do we have it, have we maintained it, and have we kept it? It's no different than me selling fireworks. It's no different.
We're making people print the sheet of paper and sign it.
Yeah.
And
I
bring it
understand
in.
that, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
it's no different than me selling
So-
fireworks. If I present the sign, you falsely sign the paperwork, it covers my liability.
Yeah.
So Cindy, as far as
Yeah.
what you provided to the board, you feel comfortable and confident to be able to do this?
Yeah.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve Cindy's recommendations for the board to reopen the course.
Point of order.
Can we just-
Didn't I make
Can
a
we get a
motion?
second?
to add it
Oh, I'll
to the
second your
agenda?
motion, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, we've got
No,
a
no,
motion,
no,
a
I'm
second.
not
already.
arguing with you. We're on the same page.
I'll second your motion. I mean, I just want to.
Oh, okay, so we do need a,
Yes, we do need a vote.
We do need a motion to
So
put
we
it on
need
the
a-
agenda, right?
we already had a motion to put it on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yes,
but it's
it's already
already seconded.
seconded.
And it's been.
Oh, okay.
But we need
Will
a vote.
second.
We'll second it, I think.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll vote to put it on the
Okay,
agenda.
we've got the motion to put this item that we've been discussing for the past 15 minutes on the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I was just gonna vote against it because Fred.
Your motion.
And then I'll make a motion to reopen the golf course per Cindy's guidelines
I
tomorrow.
second.
Is that correct?
Fred, would you like to say?
Tomorrow.
Second?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay, am I doing it or are you doing it?
Just second the motion.
Second motion.
You go first.
Is there any further discussion?
Is there any further discussion? And I think Cindy said that this is the way, that she was comfortable with this and she felt confident we could get this done safely.
That's correct.
I've got a bunch of masks
You want
in
her
the
to-
restaurant too, so.
Need to vote,
Sandy?
Darryl.
Another question to you, Cindy.
Yeah.
You feel confident that we can do this safely and efficiently, correct?
I do. Along with the rules that I have listed, I do feel comfortable with it.
Okay, that's enough for me. All those in, or is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Excellent.
All right, what's our next?
You can now put it on the Facebook page that the board has approved opening the golf
Yeah,
course.
Well, you don't have to change it.
that's right, you don't have to change it. What else do we have here?
Engineering.
Phil, are you still awake?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, can we get a engineering report?
Yeah, I think you pretty much already gave it. Really only had one thing to mention, and that's that the MOA has been executed by all the parties, and it's gone to the Water Management District, of course, for consideration for the grant.
Awesome.
That's big news since the last meeting.
Yes, it is.
I want to make sure, I've had a couple people reach out to me. I don't know, just about what, hold on.
Super secret.
Hey,
I
Phil.
mean, I don't care, I don't have a problem doing that.
Phil, you there?
We changed up on you.
This is a recommendation. I know we spoke about this before. I need to make sure that anytime reports or anything, or any discussions are made with any questions as far as water, sewer taps, and anything like that, I need to make sure that you're the one that is able to convey the message or information to the person asking. Is that fine, Phil?
Sure.
Does any board have any questions on that?
Are you saying that,
Not that we can answer right now.
I understand that, that's what, just,
Yeah.
I should ask you.
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you, Phil.
something more coming?
Well, we can talk about that at the personnel meeting.
Yeah, we can talk about that at the personal meeting.
Okay.
That's why I want to make sure if I said it.
Well, not to get into the weeds on personnel issues, being on the personnel committee, it would have been nice to have been looped into personnel issues that recently occurred. And that's all I'm gonna say about it.
That's all I have to say.
Duly noted, Kevin.
Fred, would you like to talk about the golf course anymore? Are we good now?
He's ready to go.
He's got a tea time in the morning.
Yeah,
No,
you gotta go to sleep.
I gotta,
Oh.
I wish I had.
He's got contractors coming,
Accept,
remember?
the
I
engineer's
got-
report.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, do we have a motion and a second to accept the engineer's report?
I make a motion to accept it as presented.
Second.
All those in, or is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there anything that benefits Holley-Navarre water system? The flood of Hidden Creek or next board of directors?
Personnel, whatever.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Let's go home.
It'll be a lot longer than that.